instead, Labour are in the news. What a surprise. They hate women and Jews. Is this the case, Paul?
Lovely little poem, Leo. Labour shut down the anti-Semitism debate. Now it's silencing women. I'm going to read a little bit of this story, actually, because I think it really adds a decent piece of context. In the privacy of a committee room on the parliamentary estate, Labour MPs gather for top-secret meetings to discuss the erosion of sex-based rights. Some have taken to wearing a badge with a dinosaur emblazoned on it as a reference to Shadow Foreign Secretary David Lammy's comment that feminists who oppose self-identification for people wanting to change their gender are dinosaurs hoarding their rights. I think it's absolutely fascinating. And actually it's heartwarming, or heartening at least, for me to hear that groups across parties now, particularly groups of women, are starting to sort of stand up against this because they have been afraid. Yeah. The point of this, the thing that jumps out to me in this story is that women in particular are afraid to talk about this issue.
Yeah.
And if you,
the patriarchy's back.
Well, absolutely, and I mean, I don't want to chuck the baby out with the bathwater here. I don't want to dismiss the fact that there's a very small number.
I bet the Tavistock would. Mutilate it on the way out as well.
I'll keep setting you up for these shows. And there's. Sorry, you completely throw me. But there is a point here that whilst there is a very small population of trans people, they are victims often, but the biggest cohort of victims in this, without a shadow of a doubt, is women. Yeah. Women are... Nobody can identify what one is. They can't do anything without anyone having a say. This isn't happening to men. It's men that seem to continually be the oppressor.
Yeah. Yeah, Diane, I mean, this seems... as Paul said, I'm sort of heartened that this is... At least there are people in Labour who, don't go along with all the sort of gender woo-woo nonsense and the anti-Semitism. It's a shame that they have to meet in secret.
Yeah, that is the really appalling thing. And it really shows that Keir Starmer has absolutely... He doesn't have a unified party at all. Because you have people like Rosie Duffield, and she speaks out for women's rights, and she's been shouted down by men in the House of Parliament, and it's a very clear optic when you see that. There was another lady, Miriam Cates, she was shouted down as well. And the weird thing is that the people who are meeting together who are gender critical, which for those of you listening who might not know what that is, gender critical is when you mean that you're opposed to the idea that gender identity is more important or significant than biological sex.
It means you think a bloke's a bloke and a woman's a woman.
Yeah, well, definitely to a, that's where you sort of more lean towards, yeah. And it's a cross-party meeting because whenever anybody says something out loud, they'll get shouted down. And they'll get all this hate on online and things like this. And it just shows that, sadly, Keir Starmer, because he could barely say what a woman was a couple of months ago anyway. Yeah. And I'm just glad that J.K. Rowling has held back some of her funding for the Labour Party.
Oh, has she? I mean,
yeah,
their biggest donor. Anyway.